Deputy Quinlivan?
No. It's just myself. Thank you. This is an area, the area of child and adolescent mental health is an area that I have taken an interest in, and part of my interest stems from an experience I had before I was elected, when, as a representative of a community mental health nurse, I was actually talking to him about an allowance that he may or may not have been due, and he said to me, "Do you mind if I leave my phone on, because I have several children in my care who are effectively on suicide watch?" And that really, it was, I suppose, and I'm grateful in a way, it was something that I hadn't encountered up until that point. And I was really struck by the fact that this person was trying to provide a service in very strange circumstances, was trying to do his best, but he was very stretched, and it hadn't occurred to me that that need would be there among children and adolescents, or indeed the extent of it. And I got to talking to people who were providing the service, and they are fantastic people, but they are, and I know that you'll acknowledge this yourself, they are working in very strained circumstances. They would like to do more. They would like to be able to be that very real safety net. And I know that from speaking to people in my own community, that particularly youth mental health is a huge concern, and they want to be able to see those services that are there and that safety net, because they can see that what is there for children and what is not there for children, I suppose, can lead to problems in later life. And the longer they go without help, the harder it is when that help eventually arrives, if it arrives when they are adults. And I don't think there's anyone, not in this chamber or outside of it, whose life hasn't been touched by a mental health issue, either by themselves, for their family, for friends, for people in their community. And we have become very aware of the scale and the disparate nature of mental health illness recently. And I say that just to refer to my initial point, which was I wasn't aware of the extent to which child and adolescent mental health was, either the issues were so prevalent or that the help was so badly needed, and what could be done when it's done right. And we know, I think, because people are starting to talk about it now, the scale and the challenge that is posed by consistent and persistent underfunding of services, and that leads to understaffing. If we only have just a cursory look at the state of affairs, it reveals that the CAM service in Ireland have barely half of the necessary staff needed under a Vision for Change. I remember when a Vision for Change was launched. It was a 10-year project. It's now 12 years old, and you know it ceased to have any meaning because so much of it remained unimplemented. Waiting lists for a first assessment have gone through the roof. At the end of October, there were 2,250 children in my area waiting to access services. 286 of these were waiting over a year simply to access their first appointment. And you know, 105 of those young people had been waiting in excess of 18 months. So you get to the stage where you can't call any of this early intervention because of the length of wait. It ceases to be early intervention. In my own community in Fingal, we only have 63% of the staff necessary for child and adolescent mental health services. We have 177 young people waiting for a first assessment. Every expert in child and adolescent mental health will tell you that early intervention is absolutely vital in avoiding enduring and worsening problems into the future. And I know I don't need to convince you of that, Minister, because I know that you are aware of it. But we only have 63% of the staff necessary, and I represent an area that has among the youngest population in Europe. That is a very fast growing population of young people, which is brilliant, but the services are not there for them, and we don't have enough people to provide those services. Mental health issues are emergency health issues. You would never expect someone with a physical health emergency to wait over a year for treatment, and yet young people with mental health problems are expected to wait. In 2019, we need to see increased and targeted investment from this government to help those soaring waiting lists and ensure that people can actually access the services that they need.
Very much.